It has been officially 1 week I've been in Kansas. Whoopee! Yep, your boy is full-blooded red, white, and blue right now. Not really though, I haven't been here for a very long time. Obviously it's been a week. But I think in a week I can finally see a few things that are different between me back in my hometown and here where I move right now with my family. And I'm pretty sure you can't judge a book by its cover, or you can't judge a land by its, by how long you've been here, especially if it's been a week. And that might be true, but I would like to say a few things for a week right now. And I'll probably do like a month review and probably like a year review. So yeah, I want to tell you about my entire experience here in Kansas. So let me tell you the entire thing. How I got here. I have a family, stepdad, and I'm pretty sure you can connect the dots there. We decided to move here, and here we are. It was a very long process and a very long trip, and it was very, very, very long. I was so tired. Everybody had jet lag. Everybody was tired as hell, and so was I. And it took about like 3 or 4 days for us to get some sleep. Every time I try to get sleep, I suddenly wake up in the middle of the night and then just go walk around, and then find out that everybody else was awake, and then I go back to sleep again, and boom, everyone else was also awake, and then go back to sleep again. And so my sleep schedule was all a mess. But anyways, we did get to experience a few things in here. So let's talk about things I find really interesting in Kansas. For the people who watch this, who are living in Kansas right now, please don't get mad. I'm not saying a lot of bad things, but there are just things that are different. There are things that are bad, they're just different, and it's an entire culture shock here. Let's start with the atmosphere. And how was it? It is very, very cold here. It reminds me back in when, in North Sumatra, there's this place called Brastagi, which is really, really cold because it was on top of the mountains. It was windy the entire time. It was so cold. I'm gonna have to wear a jacket. Here is basically almost a similar thing. Okay, my stepdad, he can live in here as much as he can, and however, I almost cannot comprehend how cold it is here. I basically had to wear long sleeves and a jacket at the same time, and I know that it's not the worst thing here. I do realize that snow exists, which is I had to be prepared for that. But not to worry, we have warmers and stuff here. And then he did say it is going to get hotter here, but only because that's just sunlight. So back where I used to live, the humidity was pretty high. What I say is that the humidity here was pretty high, and the heat there was pretty high too. In here, there is some kind of heat, and there were also some kinds of cold weathers and strong breeze. And those strong breeze and the lower humidity does affect me a lot. I felt every part of my body was all turning into like scales. I feel like I'm wilting or something, like what snakes when they're trying to shed their new skin. So I'm basically shedding. My entire lips was all dry, drier than the Sahara Desert. The top of the side of my nose was also dried. I can literally peel out the dry skin right there. I felt like my body was entirely shivering the moment when I got here for like a few days, and I couldn't sleep properly. So yeah, I felt like I was like back in like the town village somewhere in North Sumatra. So yeah, it was pretty chilly. But then again, this is also the spring, and they did mention summer, which is going to be hotter where I used to live in, but he still said the humidity is like kind of almost the same thing, so I can stand that. I'm glad that I can enjoy the sunlight in here, and I really like the sunlight here. If you go outside, the atmosphere is actually beautiful. Fresh air. Now, fresh air, I really liked it here. Back where I used to live, it was kind of weird, musty air or something. I can smell, every time I go to a different place, I can smell the scents. There's like different types of air in different places. And here I can distinguish it in other areas. It is really fresh here, especially because we are living in Kansas, where it's mostly all flat and stuff, and it's all. Well, speaking about flat, I'll talk about that later. It's just so like fresh air. You can just go outside and just breathe in that fresh air in there. You feel like your lungs are getting better. You feel like like a mech who needs to have their lungs bigger because they need to pack in more air. But the skies here are beautiful. Technically, you can actually, not technical, but you can actually just go outside and just at the night and you could see the stars. Literally, it is beautiful. You can see the moon, and I just saw the Big Dipper. Yeah, I can see the size and the stars very clearly, and I really enjoy that. The view is amazing. Speaking of view, the view. There's a lot to see here. For examples, the flat spaces around Kansas. There are a lot of flat and empty spaces, mostly because it's owned by farmlands and people own property here. Tons and tons of long, really huge acres of farmland here where they hurdle. Mostly the production here is like farming, like cattle, cows, horses, chickens. Probably they grow a few crops here. So that's basically living in the farmlands here. Your boy is a country farmer. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, there was a lot of flat spaces, but not all of them are flat. Sometimes there were also sometimes mountains where I can see, and then the things you can go up here, it's just pretty fine. I can literally feel like this is one of those movies, man. It felt like I was in like one of those movies. I've been watching so many, and I realized, hey, I'm here now. I can actually experience it. And every time I go out of the car just to look, it is freezing. And you want to know something else? The houses. The houses is what I was not ready to look at. Well, not really not ready to look at. It was like, wow, that is the culture shock I was looking for. Those houses are literally the houses what I see in movies. I know I keep comparing to movies, but obviously because I have seen so many watch, it looks like it's like Western, like European or something, but it looks like it's like real farmhouses. And what's crazy is like let's pretend this is like acres of land and that this is the road here. Okay, there will literally be a house right here, the size of my my nail, and there would just be lands in here. They could be further back here, and they could be further in right here. That's how crazy it is. Like I couldn't imagine living right, like literally in the middle of there. Luckily, there's a bunch of towns here, and mostly the capital or something. I think the city in Manhattan is called. I mean, the city in Kansas is called Manhattan, which is called the Little Apple. It's really fine. There's a lot of small, little towns. Like the population is probably like 50 or almost 100 people. It's just pretty nice. But it's just the houses that just lives alone with a bunch of other farmhouses that don't. They're just away from society. It's just one of the craziest things I ever seen. But obviously they get visitors, and it'll be fine. I have no problem with it. It's just really cool and really, really crazy to see. It's just obviously I have seen kind of like that before back in my home country, but just wow, I didn't know that people could live like that. Well, since I probably said people, I guess we can go to the people. The people here are actually really nice. I don't think they're actually mean or racist or anything that that's depicted in media. I think they're actually some of the friendliest persons I know. They are so curious and they like to get in other people's bubbles and like interesting in other people's lives. That is just so great. The people here are kind, thoughtful, are interested. What do you want to talk about? What are you talking about? Well, they're also interested in what are you talking about? And we're also interested in what they're talking about, and we can go on with their conversations and help out. Recommend stuff or help them, tell them to do stuff. How, give them advice and stuff. It was just amazing. The people here are very nice, and obviously there's going to be some bad apples, but I haven't seen any, and I hope I don't see any because everybody here is just so calm and so friendly, most importantly. there's that one time I saw someone like who was really mad in Walmart because he couldn't took his pet there, and luckily he's only just mad for a while and then he just goes back, and I think it was pretty fine. But all I can say is that the people here are very kind, friendly, and thoughtful. That's one of the greatest things in here. They even like share foods and stuff. Okay, now I just reminded everybody food, and now let's get to food. Oh boy, that's a bit tough here. Obviously, my tongue isn't the same with everybody else's tongue here. Okay, spices are absolutely different, salt and stuff. They say that if you cook the food good enough, you probably don't even need spices, which is absolutely baloney to me. Okay, maybe if the food is like kind of like okay, like bland and stuff, it can okay with being bland, and I'm fine with it. However, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just adding a little bit of salt and spices here. Now, I'm not saying the food was bad. It's just there's just some food that I rather eat the other food instead. The foods in here, in a different restaurant into another restaurant. I'm not getting to simple other details about that, but that's all I have to say. The food was great. I can find stuff that are actually just the same as here, especially the snacks. I really like the snacks and the like not I wouldn't say junk food, but I like the pieces of candy, like the Reese's here, Oreos, whatever. They're all the same here and back there too. I really like them. They're delicious. However, like other foods like like lunches and supper, it is kind of okay. It's bearable. I can eat it, and I don't blame the people who are cooking it or anything. I just think that I have a different taste buds, and I definitely will find something that is fits for my taste buds, or maybe I will able to adapt and eat what everybody else eats here, and it's absolutely fine. I think it is actually okay. I want to experience the food here, and I did experience the food here, and it was actually good. Some of them are really good. For example, their meat here, Seshka is really tender meat. Back here, there, meat there is sometimes a bit harsh and a bit chewy, not a bit chewy, a bit hard. And sometimes when you're buying big poultry, and the big poultry just tastes bland. But not here. The big poultry or the small poultry tastes delicious, and especially their meat, it would just fall out, and it was just so soft and tender. What I'm trying to say is they make really good quality meat, and yeah, the meat is great, which is why people love their meat here. Other things like vegetables and stuff are also good and tasty. Snacks, yeah, there's just other foods that I don't want to say yet because I haven't reviewed all the foods in here, are just not into my taste buds. I'm pretty sure it is delicious if I get used to it, and I hope I can able to eat what I can eat here. Going back to atmosphere or location and stuff, their houses are here are really like generic like what you see in movies. Sorry for keep comparing you guys to movies, but you know what I mean, okay? Where I live, the houses are compact with other houses. So like this is another house, over here's another house, and over here's another house. And here they have houses and they have yards around it, and then there's another house that has yards around it, which is I find pretty cool. I guess I thought they would just like be like small fences like dividing them, but no, there were just some houses that are just dividing it, which is pretty fine. There's nothing wrong with it. People people sometimes see neighbors and try to feel alright. And I also learned that you can't just, go to neighbors and just knock in their door. You're gonna have to call them before and then you go there. So yeah, not because I did a mistake, but people told me to do that. Another thing is, yes, people do drive on the other side of the road. Shocker. Speaking of shockers, they're plugs. They use this kind of plug, which is one of those smiley plugs, like, yeah. No, anyways, yeah, I don't think that was necessary. I don't know what's the point of me telling you what the plugs are made of, but yeah, that's all I have to say about the plugs. But there's another thing I wanted to discuss, is that wow, there is a lot of people owning a lot of stuff, like not just in the backyard. There's already like a bunch of trinkets and stuff there that are hanging outside of their places, and also a lot of stuff that are inside of people's houses. And I guess that means like they're sentimental or they do appreciate art and stuff there, which is actually pretty nice. And then like they're hanging on to stuff that I think they're pretty cool and they just buy. I think that's pretty nice of them to buy that. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Back to atmosphere from people. Now, are there any dangerous stuffs here? Well, people say this place was just really simple and just really fine here. The people were all kind of afraid for one thing. I think it was yesterday or like a few days ago, if this video gets uploaded. There was a huge tornado warning, and I got the tornado warning on my phone on Google, and it told me to be, if things, things go south, head to a nearest, tornado shelter, which got me scared because that never happened to me before. We do have earthquakes and stuff, but tornadoes are a whole different thing. And I know there are people called tornado catchers or tornado catchers. I don't know, tornado sighters, whatever they call it. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of crazy weather here, and like hail and tornado, like thunderstorm. The thunderstorms here do feel heavier in here. But there's a quote that says like if you don't like the weather, just wait for 5 minutes, and it did kind of solve it. But overall, yeah, that's just 1 week in here. I'm pretty sure I'll find more stuff that I can talk about maybe in another few minutes later. I mean a few months later. I know I'm stumbling and jumbling on my words right now because I'm also really sleepy. I think the jet lag is still here in my brain. So anyways, yeah, that's 1 week in Kansas, and I can't wait to see a whole month, a whole year in the United States. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Can't wait. I'm gonna go out now. See ya.